Let's take a look at some of the individual movers that we have this morning. We got to start with Procter Gamble, the company topping earnings revenue estimates and widening its outlook on fiscal revenue in 2024. Now, P&G saying that they're projecting a 2 to 4% sales growth here. We talk about the fact that that's a bit of a wider range than what we had initially gotten from Procter Gamble. They had initially been forecasting growth of just about 3 to 4%, so a bit of widening out here. But what's interesting to me when it comes to these consumer staple plays, what we're hearing from names like Procter & Gamble is that they're still able to pass through some of that higher pricing pressures, right? Yep. They're able to charge customers a little bit more. Yes, we did see a drop in volumes. That was the sixth quarter in a row that we did see a bit of a dip when it comes to volumes declining, but they are able to offset it, at least for now, with higher prices. In terms of what that commodity picture, though, looks like going forward, they do see a bit of a tailwind when we take into account that some of these commodity pressures are easing just a bit. So yes, that would be great news here for their business going forward. But again, it's been an issue here that Procter & Gamble, many of its rivals, have been dealing with now for quite some time. But Procter & Gamble this morning saying that it sees an $800 million tailwind to profits over the next 9 months due to lower commodities. Yeah,
I think for any of our viewers, any investors that are looking at Procter & Gamble or other names in this space, what you can often look to, especially when they report earnings, is if the volume is down and the sales are up, then prices are probably up as well here. And that's exactly what played out, as Seana was mentioning a moment ago. Prices were up 7%, so sales were up 7% here, but this was all despite volumes sold being down 1% here. And there was a little bit of correlation within this report to what we had seen within the monthly retail sales report that came out too most recently, where you still did see this kind of 9-month total year-over-year change of about 7.9% in some of the health and personal care stores. And healthcare, the pass-through here that you would look to or be apt to look to within the results or segments net sales drivers from Procter & Gamble was that healthcare saw the biggest net sales increase year over year. That was up 11% net, but organic sales up by about 10% there. And so that's where they were also continuing to pass through price. Volumes were up by about 2% there. To all that considered, people continuing to lean into health. However, there is some cyclicality to that year over year. You look at this quarter, especially in that back to school season, and then once you get into some of the winter months where people are more likely or have more propensity to spend on some of those healthcare items as well.
Yeah, it's going to be important to look at buyer behavior and what people are spending on, what people are not spending on, because you mentioned the fact that we did see volume growth here for the healthcare division, the only segment to report volume growth here for the quarter, but we did see certainly a pullback in a number of its other divisions, namely fabric and home care business, some of those home cleaning products, that shrank volume there by about 1%. So it's important to keep eye on some of the pricing action that we're seeing from these consumer staple companies, and then what consumers are doing as a result.
I'm wondering what the beard oil replenishment rate is for those out there who are growing out their beards going into the winter, because the grooming was down by about 2% on volume, at least.
Maybe they're cheaper options. I don't know.
Cheaper options, or I don't know. I'll ask Jared Blickery about that. Neither one of us have beards, but hey, should we decide to grow them out for the winter?
All right, well, keep it right here on Yahoo Finance, because our very own Brian Sozzi, he's going to be sitting down with the CEO of Procter & Gamble, Jon Moeller. That's at 10 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. Yeah.